Okay, it's been a shocking effect on the rising interest rates and how they've affected the market. Stay tuned to find out the details. My name is Sean Price. I am with the Price and Price Group here at eXp Realty, and we've seen a pretty dramatic shift in the market in the last 2 weeks, and a large part of that, the large effect of the interest rate hikes going up. So I'm gonna try this a little bit different. Normally, I'll dive into the graphs and the numbers, but I'm going to go ahead and just give you what's the pulse of the market. Give you what does this mean. I'm going to start off with what it means, and then those of you who are like me who like to geek out with graphs and charts, we'll get into all that here in a little bit. So, what do the rising interest rates mean for the buyers in this market? Well, what we're seeing a lot less competition for properties. We're seeing opportunities where there are still multiple offers happening, but those are only happening on properties that are immaculately prepared, very spectacularly updated, and priced very well. Other than that, most properties are staying on the market for a little while, which means that buyers are able to get them for a realistic price. Again, prices are not coming down just yet. Will they? We don't know, but as of now, market values have not started coming down yet. But you can actually get the property at market value. So, what this means for a buyer is realistically, unless it's one of those specific properties that I just mentioned where you have multiple offers, you're going to be able to have all of your contingencies. You're going to be able to find out what it is you're buying and have an inspection contingency and have your appraisal contingency and have all of these protections in your contract, which is great because for the last 2 years, as we all know, to get a property, you've had to waive all that. So you can have the opportunity to have your protections. Also, when a property is put onto the market, it's no longer assumed that, let's say, a property is listed for $500,000, that you got to come in at $550,000 to even compete. You can actually come in at asking price, or as is the case with most sellers, a lot of sellers, it's a little bit overpriced. So sometimes you can come in a little bit under asking price. So there's opportunities for buyers. It's really a good market. It's a safe, healthy market as far as the market values still seem very steady, and the opportunities for buyers to make a reasonable decision and have a reasonable opportunity to see what they're buying, that's out there. So for the buyers, that's what you're seeing, and that's what you're going to experience when you come out there. So having an agent that represents you well, that gets all your protections negotiated into the contract, that also knows how to value a property, because and this is going to kind of transition to what sellers are seeing, but what's happening is a lot of times sellers are still overpricing the properties, and if you don't have a buyer's agent that knows how to analyze the property and see the market value, you may still end up overpaying for a property, and it may not come back at appraised value because those properties are still being overpriced. So make sure you have an agent that knows how to get your contingencies into the contract and knows how to have the protections, and also is very good at valuing properties so that they can make sure you're putting in an accurate offer on the property. All right, from the sales side, sellers, it's still a really good time to sell. There is so little inventory out there. There is no competition. I have buyers that have been watching the market now for going on about 2 or 3 months, and they can't find a property that they like. There's very little competition out there. Inventory actually flattened out. It went down over 30% last week, and it flattened out again this week. So there's not a lot of competition for sellers. So if you price your property right for the condition that it's in, then your property will sell very quickly. But that's the key, is for the condition it's in. If you have updated your property and it's showing very, very well, and you've removed all the junk and you've staged it right. I didn't mean junk like to disrespect your stuff, but if it's not a cluttered home, and if it presents well, then those properties are still getting multiple offers and they are selling very quickly, usually above asking price. But if you haven't put that extra effort in and haven't wanted to spend the money on putting the extra effort in, you have to price the home appropriately. And you can still sell it very quickly, but that's the key, is you have to be very strategic with your pricing so that you attract a number of buyers that are willing to put the work in for you. If you want to try to get top dollar and your home is not ready for that, reach out to us. We have a team that'll come in, they'll prep your home, they will do any necessary remodels and updates for you, and you don't even have to pay for that until closing. So it's very little risk on your end, very little out-of-pocket expense on your end, and you can still get top dollar for your property. So reach out to us on that. We'll be happy to help you with that process. Okay, so that's what we're experiencing from the sell point and the buy point. So now let's get into the details. Let's look at the numbers and see what's going on the graphs. All right, so as always, the orange line here is the buyer activity, and you can see that buyer activity went down 6% this last week. The week before that, it went down about 33%. So you can see those two significant dips right here. Inventory went down significantly last week, but then it didn't change this week, so it kind of flattened out. So it had a drop and then it flattened out. So we still have this gap here, again, with the orange line being under the blue line. This gap indicates that we are in the last 2 weeks, we've been in a buyer's market. Now, this has happened before. Let's see, it has happened, where did it happen before? Right here. It happened right here. So it's not uncommon to see this happen, but what we need to watch this and see if the interest rates are going to cause this gap to stay. Because if this gap does stay, then if you go over here to seller's market versus buyer's market, you can see this orange line indicates a neutral market. Anything above the orange line indicates a seller's market. Anything below indicates a buyer's market. So this is where this recent rate hike came in, and you can see that we've had a significant drop. So it's going to be important to watch this over the next few weeks and see, does this line recover and kind of start moving back? And also, is it going to stay down in the buyer's market area here? The fact of the matter is, if it stays in that buyer's market area, then we may see prices come down a little bit. We're not going to see a huge drop. We're not going to see a 15 to 40% drop like we did in 2007, 2008, but we may see a 2, 3, 4% drop, depending on how low it stays and what the demand is. Right now, buyer demand is a little bit lower than inventory, even though there's not a lot of inventory on the market. That could be a fear response because of this last interest rate hike. So we really have to watch that over the next couple of weeks and see what's going to happen. The other thing to consider is we are going into the fall. And typically here in the Northern Virginia market, we do have a decrease in market activity over in the fall as we approach the holidays. So October tends to be a little bit more active, but it's certainly lower than what it was in spring and summer. So we could be having a normal market fluctuation as well that is becoming very apparent because of the interest rates. So we could be actually seeing a normal market fluctuation that we haven't seen in the last 2 or 3 years because of the high demand. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very important that you stay tuned each week to see what the market's doing, to be in touch with the market, and you really need to evaluate your situation individually. Are you going to sell your house right now? Let's talk about it. Let's figure out, is it a good time to sell right now? For some people, it is. For some people, maybe you're better to wait until spring, but it really depends on what your goals are. It really depends on the condition of the home, and it really depends on what you need. From the buyer's perspective, is it good to buy a house now? It really depends on your situation. Right now, so if you look back 6 months ago, everybody was thinking it's a bad time to buy because prices are too high. Well, now everybody's saying it's a bad time to buy because interest rates are too high. So there's never a perfect time to buy, and if there is, it's going to be flooded with buyers, and you're going to have competition again. So let's evaluate your situation. Do you want to go ahead and buy now, marry a home, and then date the interest rate? And then when interest rates calm down, you can refinance, and now you've got a good home that you got at a good price, and you've got a better interest rate. What's the best strategy for you? So it is really a time to evaluate your individual case and see what your decision needs to be. Same thing with investors. There are more investment opportunities popping up, but it depends on what your strategy is. Okay, do you want to flip it? Maybe you need to hold off a little bit, or make sure you buy at a very good price in case prices do come down. Maybe you want to buy and hold. Maybe it's a good time. It's just we really need to evaluate every situation individually. Reach out to us. I'm happy to do that with you. Please, if you would, like and subscribe to our videos so that we can get this out. Helps the algorithm so we can get this market report out to more people each week. And if you have any questions, reach out to us, and we will see you on next week's video. Have a great week.